Eu estava em Paraty. Tinha conseguido um bico tocando num bar perto do cais. Nada especial. 3 noites por semana, pagamento em dinheiro, sem contrato. Uma daquelas situações que você fala pra si mesmo que é temporária e que vai durar uma semana no máximo. Fiquei 3 meses.
I passed through once. 1891.
Devia ser umas 2 da manhã. O bar já estava quase vazio. São uns 3 ou 4 corpos ainda de pé. Mais por teimosia do que por vontade. Eu estava no canto com o violão, tocando para ninguém em especial. Uma daquelas noites que a música não é para a audiência e para você mesmo. Para não ouvir o silêncio que fica quando você para.
I know that silence.
Aí entrou uma mulher. Não era dali. Você sente isso, sabe? Quando alguém entra num lugar e pertence a outro tempo completamente. Ela pediu alguma coisa no balcão, se sentou perto da janela e ficou-me olhando tocar. Não com aquele olhar de quem está avaliando, com o olhar de quem reconhece alguma coisa. Eu não sabia o que era na época. Agora sei. Ela estava-me vendo pela última vez como eu era. E eu nem sabia que era a última vez. That is the thing about last times, Scarlet. You never know they are last times until they're already gone.
No, you never do. Was she the one who turned you?
She said she had been watching me play for 3 weeks before she approached me. She said she chose me because I played like someone looking for something they hadn't found yet. She was not wrong.
And did you find it?
I think I am still looking. Which is perhaps why I keep broadcasting. Same impulse, different instrument. Do you ever think about who you were before? The mortal version? The one who existed before all of this?
Sometimes. Less than I used to. The mortal self becomes theoretical, eventually. You remember the facts of her, where she lived, what she wanted, what frightened her. But the feeling of being her, that goes. And you don't notice it going until one evening you reach for it and find nothing there. Just the shape of where it was.
The shape of where it was. Yes, that is exactly it. I still reach for mine sometimes. When I hear a particular kind of music, the specific sound of a nylon string guitar in a room that smells of beer and cigarettes and Sao Paulo at 2 in the morning. For a moment, it is almost there, and then it isn't.
What was the record? The one that pulled you back? During the long dark? You never said which one.
It was... Actually, I think I would like to keep that one. Some things are still mine, even after 60 years of broadcasting.
Fair enough.
Psst, guys, you're on the air.
Scarlet.
How long?
About 5 minutes, I guess.
The Bloody Society podcast presents
The Vampire Show. On this episode, the Dragon Crown and the call we weren't expecting.
Good evening, Darklings. Welcome to The Vampire Show.
Vampire boys and girls, you heard none of that. I'm Laércio. This is Scarlet. We are live. Apparently we have been live for 4 minutes and 22 seconds. What you just heard was a completely private conversation that was absolutely not intended for broadcast. I also want to be clear that I stand by every word of it. Tonight we are talking about the Dragon Crown, about Nikolaas Draken and Kaisner Drachenstein, and what the succession of the most powerful dragon bloodline in existence actually means for the supernatural world, and whatever else the night decides to bring us. Welcome, truly, to The Vampire Show. Let us establish the landscape first, because when we talk about the Dragon Crown, and we have touched on it in passing in episode 5 when we spoke to both Kaisner and Nikolaas directly. We are not talking about a piece of jewelry. We are not talking about a title in the way that mortal aristocracies understand titles. The dragon crown is... Scarlet, how would you describe it to someone who has never encountered the dragon world?
A living claim. The dragon crown is not inherited in the way that vampire bloodlines are inherited. It is not simply passed from parent to child. It must be recognized by the clans, by the supernatural world. And the supernatural world recognizes it through a combination of bloodline legitimacy and demonstrated power. Which is why the current situation is so destabilizing. Because you have two legitimate claims, two vampires, two dragons, who each represent a different understanding of what the crown means and who it belongs to.
Kaisner Drachenstein holds the crown currently. And I want to be precise about that word. Holds. Not inherited, built. He spent the better part of a century consolidating the Germanic dragon clans, earning loyalty through a combination of political intelligence and the kind of personal authority that does not require demonstration. When we spoke to him outside the Beaumont auction house in episode 5, he said, and I wrote this down because it was too good not to, I built an empire. I did not inherit one. Every clan that follows me does so because I earned their respect. That is a man who knows exactly what his claim rests on, and it rests on something real.
And then there is Nikolaas Draken.
Nikolaas Draken. The bloodline claimant, the one who carries the lineage directly, who represents, at least in the eyes of the clans who prioritize bloodline above all, the legitimate succession that Kaisner's empire cannot replace. When we spoke to Nikolaas in the corridor at the Beaumont, he said, I'm just trying to figure out who I am in all of this, what I actually want, not what everyone tells me I should want. That is not the language of a man who is certain of his claim. That is the language of a young man who has been handed something enormous and is not sure he wants to carry it. And that uncertainty, that genuine, honest uncertainty, is either his greatest vulnerability or his greatest strength. I have not decided which.
The supernatural world has a complicated relationship with uncertainty in its leaders. On one hand, a leader who knows exactly what they want and will do anything to get it is a known quantity, predictable, containable. A leader who is genuinely figuring out who they are in real time is harder to read, harder to align against, and potentially capable of becoming something nobody anticipated.
Which brings me to the question that I think is underneath all of this. Not who holds the crown right now, not who has the stronger bloodline claim, but what does the dragon crown actually do? What changes in the supernatural world depending on which of these two men holds it? Because I do not think this is purely a dragon clan matter. I think every supernatural community with a territorial interest, vampires, bears, wolves, witches, has a stake in how this resolves. And I think some of them are already positioning accordingly.
The dragon clans control more territorial boundaries than any other supernatural group in existence. More than vampires, more than any witch coven. The Draken bloodline specifically has held certain territorial agreements in place for 4 centuries. Agreements that, under Kaisner, have been maintained but reinterpreted, centralized. If Nikolaas were to claim the crown and those agreements reverted to their original terms, certain arrangements that currently benefit certain very powerful supernatural beings would become considerably less beneficial.
Which explains why certain very powerful supernatural beings are paying close attention to a young dragon who said he was just trying to figure out who he was.
Yes. It explains exactly that.
And what Nikolaas said to me in that corridor at the Beaumont, when I told him I hoped he found his way to the other side of it. He said, "There are things happening that are more complicated than they look from the outside." He was not talking about his personal journey. He was talking about the board and who is moving pieces on it. We will be right back. The supernatural world is vast, ancient, and, let's be honest, extraordinarily difficult to navigate romantically when you have centuries of history, complicated bloodline politics, and the particular challenge of finding someone who understands what you are without needing it explained. Crimson and Fate, the oldest supernatural matchmaking agency in existence, established 1531, operating continuously and with complete discretion across every supernatural species and community. They have facilitated introductions that changed the course of supernatural history and will never say so publicly. Because the right introduction, the right moment, the right room, the right two people across the right table, is worth more than any territorial agreement ever negotiated. Crimson and Fate, because eternity is a very long time to spend alone. We are back. And before we go further into the Dragon Crown, vampire boys and girls. I told you last week that Phillip Blackwell said he would call again when he could say more. He is calling again. Which means, Phillip?
Laércio, you're doing the Dragon Crown episode.
You're listening live.
I have been listening since the Portuguese. For the record, your Sao Paulo story is significantly more interesting than your broadcast voice suggests you are capable of being.
You heard the whole...
Every word. Also, the guitar. At the beginning, before you knew you were on. Laércio, that was you?
Yes, I was just... It was nothing. I was waiting for the board to come up and I had my old guitar and I just...
It wasn't nothing. Listen, I don't know what you were before all of this, before the blood. But whatever you lost when you put that guitar down, it didn't go as far as you think it did. That's all. Hello, Scarlet.
Phillip, you said you would call when you could say more.
I said it was a possibility. It became more of a certainty after last week. The forbidden magic episode. Soul anchoring. I kept thinking about what you said, about what it looks like from the outside. A person who is present but not fully present. Something in them always straining. That is a very precise description of something I have been watching for several months. In Venice.
Are you saying...
I am not saying anything specific. I am saying that your description was accurate in ways I did not anticipate. That is all I will say about that.
Okay. Then tell us something else. Tell us about Venice. Not the situation, the city. What does it feel like right now?
You know what Venice feels like right now? Like a held breath. The city has always had that quality. It's built on water. It shouldn't exist, and yet it does, and it has for centuries. And something about that, the sheer improbability of it, creates this distinct atmosphere. Like the city itself is always slightly surprised to still be standing. Right now, that quality is amplified. Everything is slightly more itself. The water is darker. The fog comes in earlier. The silence between the bells lasts a second longer than it should. I've not been in Venice before, but Ivan has, and Dristan has, and Elisa. They've never felt it like this.
Alyssa Lockhart. She is there too?
Uh-huh.
It's just, when you said everyone was there, in Venice, when one speaks of a team, Elisa is not the name that usually comes to mind.
Yeah, what can I tell you? She's quite something.
Ivan said it haunts him.
Elisa? Did he actually say that?
Venice.
Yeah. Ivan and Venice have a complicated relationship. Most things Ivan has a relationship with end up complicated. It's a talent. But Venice specifically, Venice is where he was made. Did you know that?
We did not know that.
1671. Dristan Breck made Ivan Lockhart in a palazzo somewhere in Venice. And now, 360-something years later, Ivan is back in the city of his making while the oldest vampire he has ever known is also here for only the second time in recorded history. I am not a superstitious man. I am barely a man at all, technically. But even I find that significant.
Philip, what are you doing in Venice? Not Ivan, not Eirik. You, specifically. Why are you there?
Because Ivan needed me to come. Not that he asked, but, and that costs him something to say. But even if he doesn't ask, especially when he doesn't ask, I don't say no to Ivan. Not when it matters.
That's called loyalty, Philip. A rare gem amid our kind.
Don't make it a thing.
Where have I heard that before?
We have similar communication styles. Look, I want to talk about the Dragon Crown, since that's what you were doing. Because I have thoughts, and they are different from whatever Scarlet was building toward.
Go ahead.
Everyone is watching the Dragon Crown like it's a succession question. Who has the bloodline? Who has the power? Who will the clans follow? But that's the wrong frame. The Dragon Crown has never been purely about bloodline or about power. It has always been about what the holder is willing to protect. Kaisner built an empire, that's real, that's not nothing. But an empire is, by definition, concerned with its own continuity, with maintaining what it has built. Nikolaas hasn't built anything yet, which everyone reads as weakness. But a holder who hasn't built anything yet is also a holder who hasn't decided yet what they're willing to sacrifice to protect it. And that is either terrifying or it's the most interesting thing happening in the supernatural world right now, depending on who you ask.
And which is it to you?
Both. At the same time, which is uncomfortable. I find most interesting things uncomfortable. It's generally a sign you're paying attention.
You said last week there was a story you might tell. Another time. Is this another time?
Nah, not yet. Soon. There is a story that starts in 1916 in Lake Forest, Illinois, and ends, well, it hasn't ended yet. When it has, when I can tell it from the other side of it, I will call, and I will tell the whole thing. I think your Darklings will find it, instructive.
We will be here.
Scarlet, you never answered my question last week.
The Bugatti question.
The Bugatti question.
I let you win by 4 seconds.
You let me win.
I thought you should know before. Before whatever Venice is becomes whatever it becomes. Drive carefully, Philip.
4 seconds. Good night, Darklings. Take care of each other.
Vampire boys and girls. She let him win by 4 seconds, and she told him before whatever Venice becomes. I need a moment. We will be right back. You have been alive long enough to know that most properties were not built with you in mind. Inadequate window coverage, neighbors who ask questions, deeds that require a mortal identity you stopped using in 1847. Noctis Realty, supernatural real estate specialists operating across 47 countries. Every property dark veil compliant. Every transaction handled through channels that do not require explanation. Sellers that are actually sellers. Grounds that are actually private. and a specialist knowledge of which buildings carry histories that require managing and which ones simply work. Noctis Realty, because home should feel like yours for as long as yours lasts, which, for most of our clients, is considerably longer than average.
And we are back.
The Dragon Crown, Philip's Call, Venice. The story that starts in 1916 and hasn't ended yet. There is a great deal to sit with tonight, and we are going to sit with all of it. But first, we have a caller. Who is with us tonight?
Hi, my name is Samara Alexeeva. I probably shouldn't have used my full name.
Samara Alexeeva, as in...
The Ursa Princess.
Yeah. Gavriel is going to be furious. But I'm here now, so screw it. Here it goes.
This is a safe space, Samara.
That usually doesn't apply to Ursa territory. Okay, I want to talk about the Dragon Crown, and about Nikolaas. Not from the outside. I know him. We have known each other for a while. Long enough to know the difference between Nikolaas performing confidence and Nikolaas actually having it.
You are his mate.
Yes. Which means I am probably the last person in the supernatural world who should be calling a vampire podcast to talk about dragon succession politics. And yet here I am. Because I listened to what that vampire said, Phillip, and I think he is a sensible guy. Vampire, whatever. He's right that everyone is asking the wrong question, but I think even he stopped short of the answer.
Which is?
The Dragon Crown belongs to Nikolaas. Not because I am his mate, not because I am saying it, because bloodline is not a technicality in the dragon world. It is the foundation of everything the clans have built. Every territorial agreement, every alliance, every treaty that has held the supernatural world in any kind of order for the last 4 centuries. All of it rests on the understanding that the bloodline means something. The moment you decide it doesn't, the moment you say that empire building supersedes lineage, you have pulled the thread that holds all of it together. And I like Kaisner. I want to be clear about that. He is formidable, and he has earned every clan that follows him, and I have nothing against him personally. And Clarissa? Clarissa I genuinely love. She is extraordinary. But right is right, and the crown is Nikolaas's.
The clans who support Kaisner would argue that demonstrated power is itself a form of legitimacy.
And they are not wrong, in the abstract. But the dragon world is not abstract. It runs on specificity, on bloodlines that can be traced, on claims that can be verified, on a history that is either honored or abandoned. Kaisner built something real. Nobody is disputing that. But you cannot build something real on a foundation you undermined to get there. And every clan leader who follows Kaisner knows, somewhere underneath the political calculation, that the foundation has a crack in it. Nikolaas is the crack, not because he is weak, because he exists. And bloodline does not stop existing because it is inconvenient.
What does Nikolaas think? About the claim? About what he actually wants?
He thinks he is 23, in human years. He is 23 years old, and the entire supernatural world is treating him like a chess piece. What he wants, what the version of him that existed before all of this wanted, is complicated. And it is his to carry, not mine to broadcast. I will say this. Whatever Nikolaas decides about the crown, about what he is willing to claim and what he is willing to let go. I will be standing next to him. That is why I called. Not to make the political argument. Anyone can make the political argument. I called because someone needed to say, on air, on record, clearly, that there is someone standing next to him, and that he is not alone in it. Whatever it becomes.
Samara, are you all right? In the middle of all of this?
Yeah, I think so. Ask me again in 6 months. What you're doing here matters, both of you. Phillip said it makes it feel less like the dark. He's right. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for calling. Truly. Despite Gavriel.
Despite Gavriel.
We began tonight, accidentally. 4 minutes and 52 seconds of a private conversation about last times and Sao Paulo, and a record that I am keeping to myself. And then the dragon crown. And then Phillip, who listened to the whole thing from Venice and called in with 4 seconds of information that changed everything we thought we knew about a conversation that happened at a racing circuit in 1926. And then Samara, who said, the specific kind of courage that doesn't look like courage from the outside because it is quiet and continuous and has no single dramatic moment. It just keeps going. I have been thinking about that sentence since she said it. I will probably be thinking about it for considerably longer. Scarlet, what do we take from tonight?
I take that everyone we have spoken to tonight, and in every episode of this show, is carrying something. Nikolaas is carrying the weight of a claim he didn't choose. Samara is carrying the weight of caring about someone the whole world is watching. Phillip is carrying whatever Venice is, and whatever Ivan asking instead of telling costs a man who has spent a century learning not to need anything. And Ivan is in the city of his making, with the oldest vampire alive, doing something none of them will name for us yet. All of that weight, all of those people. And this show is where it gets said out loud, where it gets named. I did not expect to find that. I did not expect to find that valuable when we began. I find it very valuable now.
Darklings. Phillip said it makes it feel less like the dark. Being known. Being seen. That is what you do for us every week. Every comment, every email, every person who finds this show and decides to stay. You make it feel less like the dark. And we are grateful. The story that starts in 1916 in Lake Forest, Illinois, we are waiting for it. We will be here when Phillip is ready to tell it. Venice will tell its own story in its own time. We are paying attention. And Nikolaas Draken, if you are listening, which I suspect you might be, just keep going.
Stay bloody gorgeous, Darklings. And keep going. All of you.
What a night it's been, and we're just getting started. In sanguine veritas, vampire boys and girls. Be safe out there. This is Laércio, your favorite vampire streamer, signing off.
And this is Scarlet, spoiled brat vampire extraordinaire.
You're listening to the Bloody Society podcast, transmitting for you live, kind of, from our private studio in the dark corner of the interweb. Don't miss our weekly episodes.
Until next time, stay bloody gorgeous, darlings.